Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cry But Don't Quit Show. I'm your host, India Miles, and today we have another guest who's going to be sharing her self-worth challenge so that we all collectively can grow and learn from these discussions. Nicole, would you like to introduce yourself and why you're here?
Yes, thank you for having me, by the way.
problem.
My name is Nicole Swanson, and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an author, a speaker, mom, everybody's facilitator. That's what I feel like half the time. And my self-worth problem that I am currently navigating through is literally trying to realize the power that everybody else sees in me, trying to understand how do I navigate feeling exactly the titles that has been imposed upon me. Just a little bit of backstory. So I've been rewiring my life lately, and with that rewiring process, it started with me having to say no a whole lot in order for me to get exactly what I want out of my life. But what happened was I said no too much that I forgot how to say yes, because that was a defense mechanism for me. But oftentimes I'm in rooms with people for work, family, whatever, and I am the person, just like so many other women, who jumps straight into action. I'm the problem solver. I do everything for everyone. I am always there. And most of the time it is without people having to act to be there. And lately, I have been feeling like I'm in rooms with people who are very powerful and they make a lot of money, and they're constantly telling me, you don't need to be here. You deserve to be somewhere else. You bring too much to this table. You need another table. And I'm not feeling exactly what they're saying. It's not matching up. So my question to you is, how do I begin to align that and get to a point where the power that people see in me is aligned with who I see for myself or what I feel for myself?
Yeah. Great challenge. Isn't that a weird challenge to have, to be around amazing people, to have done amazing things and just don't feel worthy of the compliments and the praise and the promotion?
Yeah.
Crazy. But I wanted you on the show because I like to target women that don't get to be vulnerable often. I do. My superpower is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, anytime I'm going through anything, I do not sit with it. I've made it a habit for a very long time to do that. And when I came across your platform and I'm like, oh, she'd be the perfect one, because the first thing you said as soon as, we went through the application process for the show is, wow, this is different for me to be the one asking for help.
Yeah.
And how many high capacity women do we know that are in that seat where they're looking? I'm one. I'm sure there's other women out here that we are the resource.
Yeah.
So where do we go to be resourced and to be supported? So to speak your challenge of that being a hidden thing that you smile, you nod, be like, oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I appreciate it, but it's not connecting for you internally. Right. The advice that I have for you and for anyone that resonates with this topic is that the relationships that you have aren't challenging you enough. That you really should be in rooms where when they do compliment you, you've earned it. Like you feel like, wow, this person sees me.
Yeah.
And they don't have anything to benefit from. And when you have outgrown, even though, these are amazing people, these are people you like, these are people that are making a lot of money. Let me take a step back and just speak to the money aspect. Money does not equate to higher self-worth. It does not equate to better character.
Yeah.
It's just money. It's just a tool to buy things or to do things like this when you want to do it. But that doesn't mean that just because they make a lot of money, their compliment, their life's accomplishments resonates to what you're trying to accomplish in your life.
Yeah.
So being able to get that feedback from women or men who are where you are. And I love that you have a book coming out. I love that, you're in your rewiring era.
Yeah.
So how does that land for you as you are emerging, like a phoenix from the ash, like, hey, I am about to do something, in this next season that they haven't seen before?
Yeah.
How's that advice resonate for you?
It's empowering for me, but on a spiritual level. I was doing a little bit of deep dive with myself when I was thinking about this entire segment. And I was telling myself, like, how did this start for me?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know exactly what was the programming or the conditioning that maybe got me here,
Mm-hmm.
and how I can literally see myself going into a different direction with that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, just for a little bit, go into this history, I realized I was diagnosed with hypertension at the age of 13.
Mm-hmm.
With no explainable cause. I'm very healthy. Nothing is wrong with me. But at
Wow.
the age of 13, I was diagnosed with hypertension. And today, I'm still diagnosed with hypertension. I
Wow.
take 4 different medications to manage my hypertension. Until earlier this year, I met a doctor who said, I think you should come in for autonomic nervous system testing. And then it clicked.
Mm-hmm.
I was born to teen parents. I've been the person to manage everything my entire life, first generation, everything.
Yep.
That is why I step into these roles without having to ask,
Yep.
because I'm always on a go.
Yep.
And what I found out is that my nervous system never resets.
Mm-hmm.
It never resets. And I'm saying that today for so many people are out there that is stepping into that is always assuming those roles. This is the damage that can happen to you. You can literally make yourself sick from the inside out. So today, my rewiring process of realizing this journey that I am on and rising, as a phoenix rising from ashes, it looks like me just doing exactly what you said. I just realized, like, I literally need to position myself in better opportunities, in better places. And maybe then I can see the other person doing all of the work, and I can see them assuming all the power, and I can learn a little bit more from them. Where I'm really lost in that process is, how do I now just get rid of everybody else that I'm currently dealing with right now? There's a lot of rooms that I'm in, and it's very hard for me to disconnect so that I could be that phoenix that you described.
Well, the beautiful thing about being a phoenix, if you've ever studied the bird, they fly solo. And you don't have to get rid of those people. They will naturally dissipate. They will. You do not. If you just focus on being around people that really make you uncomfortable, grow you, inspire you, and the criteria is that they are where you want to be in every box, not just financially, not just socially, but are they the type of woman you want to be? Do they handle situations with grace? I remember, an organization that I led a few years ago, and I just knew because I had been in, a women-led organization. I always gave her flowers. I'm like, you know what, girl, I don't know how you are running a 3,000 person membership with all women and putting out fires all day. Like, I really admire that. And I just remember her leading a leadership meeting, and it was such grace. And I wanted to be friends with her just on the premise of how she handled the stress and the pressure. And I wanted to learn from her. So the advice that I'm giving you is that if you're not around people that you genuinely want to learn from, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? What do you want to do with the money that you're making? If you are not asking yourself those questions, you are in the wrong rooms. And that's why the feedback you're getting, it's empty. You can't trust it. Because this person, obviously, like you said, spiritually, our spirit knows more than our mind does.
Yeah.
So we're in these rooms and people are complimenting us and they're telling us how awesome we are, and they're telling us, and they check some of the boxes, but they don't check all of them. So the being lost in what you should do about the current relationships, the current rooms. When I went through the phase that you're in, I didn't have to make the announcements. I made a decision. I said, you know what? I'm worthy of these type of relationships. I want to be admired and appreciated and even known by these type of women. That was just a declaration I made in a room empty by myself. And I then sat with that and figured out line by line who would I need to become?
Yeah.
Who would I need to become? Why is it so easy for me to continue existing in these spaces beyond not serving me? They don't inspire me. They don't teach me anything. I know what the speaker's gonna say before she says it. So I'm just sitting there and I'm being a good, a good supporter and friend, but I'm not being filled. And that's for women that are, at a level of self-worth that's not, you're not dealing with identity, you're not dealing with fears or insecurities. You have the untold story of what happens when you've done all the things and there's more to do.
Yeah.
And that's that's a small class of women. And normally you have to be very, as my therapist said, very selective with who's in your inner circle. And they have to earn their way into that circle. And that's something that you define and you create for yourself by being it.
Yeah.
Don't ask for it to show up in your life if you're not going to be it. If you're not a millionaire, don't try to associate with a whole bunch of millionaires. If you're not a nice girl, don't try to just say, oh, you know, I want nice friends. Wonderful. Well, you're going to be the mean friend. So you really have to set your criteria based on who you are willing to become. And when you're in alignment with that type of worthiness, two things are going to happen. It's going to get real lonely, real quiet. They're not going to feel worthy to be in your presence. And then it's going to feel like everybody that comes up to you is only going to keep asking you for advice, picking your brain. Hey, I just want to go to coffee with you, see what you got going on next. So they want to be part of your momentum. That's still not your circle of people that you lock arms with and run with. How's that resonate?
As you were speaking, there's a term that popped into my mind. It said energy management. And I think that that's kind of what I've been seeking anyway. But yeah, I think it's going to require me to be a little bit more mean. I am not generally a mean person. And my best friend always told me, she says, you know, and she's the one who sparked this no journey for me. She's like, you have to start telling people no. But I am typically the person that if I know that I can help you, I will just help you.
Yeah, stop.
Even if you don't ask me. If we have a conversation and I say I can solve that problem for her, I will literally just jump in and solve that problem. But I wouldn't necessarily say mean, but I do have to be selective with my energy, I guess.
Yeah, I often during that journey just was like, look, I've got to be selfish. I've got to rewire using your word. I have to rewire what I would typically do. I need to do the opposite. I need to explore what it would look like for me to not do what I've always done if I want something different. So it's not labels. It's not being mean. It's not being nice. It's not being selfish. It really is just a decision. And the beauty about self-worth is that you get to define it. All self-worth is a belief of what you believe you're worthy of. So you get to set that. And we've got a lot of external noise that's telling us what we're worthy of, but you know what you want out of life. And a lot of the gap is we can know what we want, but when we get going on this journey of trying to find those women, we get frustrated. So then we resort back to whatever's at arm's reach, you know, and that's really a matter of convenience. And a lot of my clients now, I'm just saying, hey, you're dating out of convenience. You tell me you want this type of man, but you're dating an ex from 10 years ago. Out of convenience. You're busy, you're tired, you're expended. So it's just a matter of you holding out for really what you want. And I just feel it necessary to reiterate that we all have a list. We all have the things that we want. Make sure in this next season they check every box.
Okay.
Because with the tendency to want to help, you have a tendency to compromise. Say, all right, well, they check these boxes, but I like them though. You know, no, you can't compensate for the other boxes they don't check. And it does require you to be, you know, very selective and what you said, energy management. So
I got to manage
your
that
energy knows it. Your energy knows when they're draining you, they're depleting you.
Because it's like an internal fight with myself. It's like an intuitive thing that's saying, hey, you know that this is not about to move you further along, but you're fighting with yourself internally and trying to figure out, okay, just this last time, time, but you never really move forward. So I now know that I have to just put a pin in it, and I have to be very, very firm on making that one decision, the power of one.
Just one. The only decision that I hear that you need to make is when it comes to your environments. Your environments, you are already full bloom rose. Doesn't you look like a rose? I mean, just beautiful. Like you are in full bloom. So you are in your overflow and you have the extra to give. You're not required to. You're just not required to. And unfortunately, the remorse of being successful, we feel like we owe it to help everyone else along. You're not required to that. You're just required to be beautiful and to be in full bloom and let that by itself inspire others. So changing those environments, spending a little bit more money on the tickets, you know, to events, flying out, go see Mel Robbins, go see Oprah, like go in those rooms where it's a little bit more expensive
Yeah.
and a little bit more intentional about the type of women that you want to learn from and be appreciated by, because those compliments are going to hit home. When, just imagine if Oprah gave you a compliment, couldn't nobody in this room tell you exactly? That's how you should feel about the accomplishments that you've had. So because you're in the habit of winning and you're a winner, and you know what somebody else seems like a huge deal to you, it just doesn't do it for you anymore. Get around some other winners that are like next level, and it will definitely light your spark to be
That was
competitive at another
confirmation for
level.
me.
Yeah,
God has been putting the word grand win, the
Yeah,
phrase
you're a
grand win in my
winner.
head lately. So it's like grand win, big win,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like
So be around
confirmation
some
for
big
me.
winners. I'm a big winner, baby. So you can be around me. We can go win together.
Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, I know you have a book coming out and
Yeah.
you've got a couple of businesses you run. Would you like to share that and just let
Yes, so
everybody
my
know?
book is called Rewired, and it details my story about how I rewired my life from being depressed for about 20 years of my first adulthood, and how I restructured myself, how I built my finances from literally making about $40,000 a year to growing $500,000 businesses. And it teaches women how to do the same thing, how to come out of suffering mentally and build your mindset, build your money, build your cash flow, because I'm big on cash flow. So if there's anyone out there that is suffering with understanding how to cash flow their lives, how to build their mind, restructure their mind, rewire their entire system, that is my book, Rewire, and it comes out next month. June 15th is when it will release.
Nice.
And also, my organization is called Productive Business Women. So if you are a businesswoman in the room and you would like support, you would like business development, matchmaking, funding opportunities, that's what we do. We are a 501c3 charity, and we just aim to support women in business. That's all we do.
Nice. And that's your nonprofit.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Nicole.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
appreciate it.